day on this Friday. I guess fair, it's Friday. I guess some people want it off. Hey, Chris, Fallica, Anita Marks. I'm just curious, before we get started, Bear, I've always wanted to ask you this. Like, I know you're very recognizable, right? Because I feel like you're on a variety of platforms all over ESPN. How many times a week do you walk into an establishment and they go, Bear?
In Connecticut, amazingly, not many at all. Now, if I'm on the road in SEC football country or Big Ten football country or somewhere like that, quite often. But Connecticut's actually been relatively low key. So I don't know. Maybe we don't have a big college football, college basketball audience in the state of Connecticut. But yeah, every now and then I will, and my wife gets a kick out of it. But yeah, if we're on the road for game day, or if I'm just out traveling about, forget it. Those people are our Q1s. They are our demo, and they love our show.
Well, I know if I saw you out, I would scream Bear no matter where I was. All right, so let's dive into it. Let's start off with, which is the better bet? You've got Duke and Auburn right now to win the NCAA, the big dance, at 12-1. Okay, and we're just, a few days away. I can't wait. This week, this Sunday is Selection Sunday. I can't wait till the tournament starts. But you've got a Duke team, as we know, coming off a really disappointing loss at home, senior night, Coach K's last game at the Yard. And you've got Auburn, who lost to Texas A&M today. What was the final score? 67-62. But these odds still are the same at 12-1. So which is the better bet, Bear?
Yeah, and Auburn actually, they were down 20 with about 10 minutes to go, and made a bunch of threes in that game to make that game close late. But look, there's a historical note and trend here that people are going to kind of roll their eyes and raise their eyebrows. But the premise of the note is, no team has lost its first conference tournament game and got on to win the NCAA tournament. And basically what it tells you is, if teams are capable of losing to a team like that, like one of the weaker seeds in their conference tournament, they're capable of losing to anybody in the NCAA tournament, and it usually happens. So that's going to test it with Auburn, Baylor, Illinois, another team which lost today in the Big Ten, its first game. So I'm going to go with Duke, not just because of that, but I think the Blue Devils are going to get a more favorable path, I think, in the NCAA tournament. I think they do have some big wins throughout the year. I know they lost to UNC, and they just kind of escaped with a Jimmy Boeheim led comeback from Syracuse yesterday with the bunch of threes. They did survive there, but Duke can win because if they get hot from three, they can just outshoot you. Auburn away from home this year has just not been a team that looks very comfortable. So these games obviously are not going to be played on Auburn's home court. So I like the way Duke is away from home more than Auburn, and I think Duke can win in a more variety of ways. Whereas Auburn lately has just been a team that it feels like they peaked a lot earlier than they needed to.
This is a toss-up for me. Maybe I have a small lean towards Auburn. I'm just not thrilled with Duke's defense, and we both know in order to win the championship, you've got to play some style of defense, especially, I keep on going back to that UNC game and how disappointing that was, losing to them, but giving up as many points as they do, 94 points to UNC on a really important night for Coach K. Meanwhile, for Auburn, again, I know they lost today, but they did win the SEC regular season, and I have a very soft spot in my heart for Bruce Pearl. So, and not that I don't for Coach K, but there's just something about Bruce Pearl that I really, really like. All right, let's take a look at the games that are on tap for later on tonight. And let's start first and foremost. You've got Mississippi State going up against Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 7.5. Do you have a play in this matchup?
I picked Tennessee to win the SEC tournament. I think they're a long shot contender to win the national title. I think that what's different with the Vols from years past, they've gotten offense from Vescovi and Chandler now, and they play elite defense. But laying 7, we've seen a little bit of a theme with some of these conference tournament games over the last couple of days. The team that played and got the game under their belt seems to have a little bit of a leg up, at least early on in games. So I think Mississippi State, they played pretty well last night. kind of skewed some myths about the team, kind of being a little bit in dissension. But Mississippi State played well, and I think if Tennessee struggles offensively early, it will allow the Bulldogs to hang around here. So I like Tennessee to win the game, but I'll take Mississippi State plus the 7-0.
Yeah, ditto. Lock and step with you as well. I like Mississippi State with the points. Listen, they beat South Carolina almost by 20 points. They held them to 28% shooting. Talk about defense. A great defense performance by them. They're a really strong rebounding team. 22nd, right? 22nd in college basketball in rebounding. So I think they have a really, really great matchup against Tennessee's bigs. So we're on the same page there. Let's talk about Miami and Duke. Duke favored by 9 against the Canes, baby. It's a Canes thing. You just wouldn't understand. I'm from Miami, baby.
Exactly right.
My dad played for the U. What do you got here,
Do
Bear?
I need to give you my U? I'm going to take the alma mater plus points tonight. Yeah, you said it before about Duke and their ability to play defense. Miami plays that 5-out offense, and they've got scorers all throughout the perimeter. They survived against Boston College yesterday, but unlike BC was very comfortable playing a slow down, grinded out style, ugly type game. Duke is not going to slow it down. Duke is going to look to score. I don't think there'll be very much defense in this game at all. Duke will probably win the game, but Duke has lost to Miami quite often with Jim Larrañaga at the helm of the Hurricanes. So I think there's a good chance Miami pulls the upset tonight, but I will definitely take them plus the 9 because I do think Duke will have trouble defending Moore and McGusty and some of the other players that the Canes have on the perimeter.
Yeah, again, ditto. I'm with you. Give me the Canes and the points. Again, bad showing against UNC, but they also struggled against Syracuse. They have not covered their last 2 games. Meanwhile, Miami has played Duke twice already this season and did cover. By the way, they're 7-2 against the spread on the road, so they play well on the road away from, as we like to call, Coral Gables, Florida. A lot of people might not know, but that's where the University of Miami is
I
located.
hate when people say South Beach. Everything in Miami is just South Beach.
I know, people think it's
South Beach is nowhere near Coral Gables.
It's Coral Gables. It's Coral Gables. And they don't have a sorority row because you're not allowed to have more than 4 women living in the same house, or they consider it a brothel. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, we're on the same page in regard to
That's
Miami
the evening version
Hurricanes
of that. We'll discuss that.
Let's talk about Penn State and Purdue. Purdue is favored by 10.5 here, laying double digits. What's your play in this matchup?
I'm going to lay the points here with Purdue, and I'll say it with a little bit of trepidation because Penn State's a team that beat me last night against Ohio State, but the Buckeyes are a team that is just in disarray right now. They are in free fall. They can't score at all. So I think Penn State is going to have a little bit of trouble tonight keeping Purdue off the scoreboard. I don't think you're going to get prolonged scoring droughts like the Buckeyes had last night. There are plenty of scoring options on the Boilermakers. They don't play a ton of defense, but a lot like Iowa, it's hard to keep Iowa off the scoreboard. It's hard to keep Purdue off the scoreboard, and I do think they outscore a very game, young, up-and-coming Penn State team.
Oh, Bear. First time we're on opposite sides here. Maybe a bottle of wine's in play between the two of us. I like Penn State here. I think these two teams are going in opposite directions, right? Like Purdue, they've lost 2 of 3. Meanwhile, Penn State, they're 4-1 on neutral site, so they play well away from home. They've won 2 straight. They shot 46%, by the way, from the field against Ohio State University, and they're just a team that's heating up. And what do people say? Heading into the big dance, the big tournament, you want to be peaking at the right time. I just feel like this Penn State team is peaking where Purdue is fading. So I'll take Penn State and the points. USC and UCLA. UCLA is favored by 6. Battle out west in the Pac-12. Who do you have here, Bear?
I'm not sure how many people watched that game last night between UCLA and Washington State, but the Bruins played really well. And it's a team that in the last few games of the regular season played really well. I think the Bruins have kind of been a team that the regular season almost felt like a bit of a dress rehearsal for the Pac-12 tournament, for the NCAA tournament. What Jaime Jaquez has done the last few games has been ridiculous. They're playing a lot more through him. He's being so much more productive. Tiger Campbell has eliminated a lot of the dumb fouls. UCLA just beat USC a couple of weeks ago. I like this UCLA team tonight laying the points against SC, and depending on the health of Krisa, Arizona's point guard, we'll see what they can potentially do in the Pac-12 championship game if they do get there. Hopefully they will, because they got a nice plus money ticket on the Bruins to win the title in the Pac-12.
Oh, that's nice. All right, I saved my best for last. This might be my best bet on Daily Wager later tonight. You can tune in on ESPN2 at 6 o'clock. And that is Colorado getting the points, getting 10 against Arizona. Listen, they've won 8 of their... You're shaking your head, so you're in agreement. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, no,
but listen, they've won 8 of their last 9.
I had CU a couple of weeks ago at home against Arizona when Arizona had that brutal at Utah, at Colorado. And like I said, if Krisa doesn't play tonight or if he's hindered, that really hurts Arizona. So Colorado plus points, I'm with you there.
I love it, and I love that they're getting so many, considering that, Arizona's best three-point shooter, Kerr, is more than likely not going to play. I mean, he was in a wheelchair last night after he hurt his ankle, but nonetheless, you've got a Colorado team. They've won 8 of their last 9. They beat Arizona outright by 16 points back in late February, not too long ago. Jabari Walker, you could argue, is really going to dominate in the paint as well. Walker dominate in the paint as well. You've got 2 bigs going up against Arizona, and like you just pointed out, I don't anticipate Kerr to play tonight, and especially if he's out, they're missing that deep range, that long range. I think Colorado getting the points, they could very well win outright yet again, like they did in February. Bear, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, they're a very well-coached team. I will say this one thing, though. Arizona's best, when Arizona brings their A game, and I hate the cliche, but it just works here, Arizona might be the best team in the country. They are so long, they're so athletic on the glass, and Mathurin scoring points as well. So Arizona, at their best, is probably the best team in the country, but if they're shorthanded tonight, that could be a little bit problematic against Ted Boyle's team, who really always puts together a very good game plan and a way to kind of shut down the opposing team's star. We saw Oregon really struggle to score yesterday.
All right, Bear, we're moving on from college basketball to Major League Baseball. Say it isn't so. The season is going to start hopefully soon. Let's bring in a woman who covers Major League Baseball like nobody else in the business. Very dear friend of mine. We've done a few shows together here at ESPN, and I just adore her. She crushes it each and every time she's on. So Marly Rivera joining us now. So Marly, great to see your smiling face, and I'm sure you're excited. Kind of share with our viewers, our listeners out here, Major League Baseball, the union, they've come to some type of agreement. But, break it down for us. Is it going to be 162 games? When is the season going to start? Feed the people, Marly. Feed the people.
Well, first of all, Anita and Bear, thank you so much for having me. And Anita, it's always a pleasure for me to be on with you. We go way back, but we're not going to say how long because we don't need to date ourselves here. So at this point, we're just going to talk about a little baseball. And it's exciting that we can even say that we're going to have some Major League Baseball after 99 days, I apologize, of a Major League Baseball. And the MLBPA, the Players Association and Major League Baseball having a lockout. And at this point, even though we're starting spring training probably about almost a month later than we would have, we are still going to have a 162-game season. Now, how is that possible? We are actually starting, opening day is going to be 1 week later. It's going to be on April 7th, but we're still going to play 162 because the season was going to end on October 2nd. We're going to tack on 3 extra days at the end of the season, so now it's going to end on October 5th. That will be the last day of the season. And also, there's going to be, that actually should take care of one of the series that got canceled, and then the other series that got canceled will be played in double headers, maybe, when the teams have a common off day or they're trying to schedule that during the season. So that is how we can possibly, if we have this wonderful weather year, because it's exactly what's going to happen, nothing else is going to cancel games, we will be able to play those 162.
Well, I personally have no problem with the season starting a little bit later. How many brutally cold weather, miserable late March, early April games can one sit through? But one of the things with bad weather potentially is postseason. We're going back and forth, 10 teams,
Yes.
14 teams. It seemed like that was kind of a sticking point between the owners and the players. How ultimately did they get settled on 12?
Well, Bear, it's pretty exciting, right? Like some people were, I mean, really, the league was really truly pushing for 14, which obviously for the Daily Wager would have been fantastic, right? Because there's more betting and there's more teams, so it'll be a lot more fun. But right now, obviously, in a league that is 30 teams, if you really kind of almost make it, half of the league in the playoffs, it doesn't make it as exciting. So right now, we are going to have 12 teams in the playoffs, and how this happens is that you're going to have the 3 division winners in each league, right? So you're going to have 3 from one side and 3 from the other, and then the wild card teams, 3 from each league in each division. So that's how you make the 12, right? 3 division winners and the 3 wildcards from each league. Now, those are the 12 teams. The 2 top teams from each league, in the American League and in the National League, those teams are going to get the bye week, right? So at that point, and this is new in Major League Baseball, so bear with me here, guys. It's going to make sense at one point. So these 2 top teams in each league are going to have a bye week. The third team, that team is going to join the other 3 wildcard teams in that 4 game, right? So you're going to have those 4 teams now, and they are going to be the top seed. The other 3 wildcard teams are going to be seeded according to their record, right? Like we're kind of very used to that. If the records are the same, then we're going to use NFL type tiebreakers to do the seeding, and then we are going to have 3-game series, 3-game wildcard series that are going to be on ESPN, which is very exciting for us that we're going to have these playoff series on ESPN. So we're going to have this 2 3-game series per league in order to determine eventually the wildcard winner. So it's going to get pretty exciting. I'm sorry if it's a lot of teams and but basically the point, there's 12, 6 from each side, and it's going to get pretty exciting.
Wow, Marley, you're going to be busy this season. That's for sure. All right, 2 things I'm curious about, because I know that this was something that was in contention, and that is the shifting of the defense,
Yes.
right? And number 2, a pitch clock. So what was agreed to? What can we expect this season in those 2 scenarios?
Well, Anita, at this point, the only rule change, the major rule change that was approved in the current collective bargaining agreement, for all those people out there that hear those words CBA, that's what it stands for. So in this current CBA, what was agreed to was only the universal DH, right? So no longer in the National League will the pitchers, except, special occasions, maybe you run out of players, so you're going to have a pitcher at the plate, but the pitchers are not going to hit anymore. But those rule changes that you mentioned, and I know specifically, especially those defensive shifts that can really affect, right, when you're betting in a game, those are not going to be implemented yet. They will not be implemented this season. Another one of those changes, like you mentioned, the pitch clock, and also the size of the bases. They wanted to expand them to those sizes. That cannot be implemented this season per this current collective bargaining agreement. But then next season, they could attempt to, right? They can do it. And the league, the agreement is that you have 45 days to try to implement those new rules. Now, Major League Baseball and Commissioner Rob Manfred stood up there yesterday and said, after they got this agreement, I want to develop a better relationship with my players, so I think he better listen to them if he's going to start trying to implement any of those rules.
Yeah, you got that right. And look, I am one of those, I don't want to sound like one of those gold, get off my lawn baseball guys, baseball purists, but last year we had the ghost runner on second in extra innings, 7-inning games and doubleheaders. Looks like we're doing away with both of those things, right?
Yeah, well, for the crowd, for the, yelling at the cloud, get off my lawn crowd, come down, no more ghost runner, come down. The doubleheaders are going to be 9 innings. And you know what? The only ones that lose here is the media, because, we really have been working on pace of game, and the 7-inning doubleheaders really, really help. But let's be fair. And if at one point if you talk about competitive balance, and if you talk about how things really should be, then when you talk about teams that tend to have a lot of doubleheaders, which are the teams that are in really bad weather, you mentioned it before, right? Like in April and in May, you can get a lot of rain or a lot of, cold. Let's just talk, for example, the Colorado Rockies. They tend to have a lot of postponements and a lot of doubleheaders. Then you eventually going to end up playing a lot less innings than other teams. So I do think that it's fair, at this point, that those 2, 9-inning doubleheaders are going to be back. So it's 9-inning games. That's how it was made. And now for the yell at the crowd, what is it? Yell at the cloud crowd. You'll be fine. They're back. And the ghost runner won't be there anymore. And that's really disappointing for me, because that was fun. It was in the World Baseball Classic and I really enjoyed it, but everyone hates it. So it's all right.
All right, last question for you. What's going to be different for the Major League Baseball viewer this season? Anything that you want to point out?
Anita, I think that people are going to have to start taking a look at the uniforms and the hats. And why am I saying that? Because maybe you're going to see a little Marvel logo somewhere. This is going to be the first time that Major League Baseball has agreed with the Players Association to have advertising on uniforms. So, we're so used to it in other places, especially in the WNBA, where they're very prominent, and in other leagues too. But now Major League Baseball and the Players Association have come to an agreement, and we're going to see some patches and some advertising in hats and uniforms and helmets. So I think that's going to be the #1 thing that people are going to notice when they turn on their TV, that they're going to be on ESPN on April 7th when we start with Yankees and Red Sox. And who knows, maybe we'll see a Marvel logo right there on Aaron Judge's cap.
Wow. It's all about the paper, Marley. It's all about the paper. And it's all about you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Great to see you smiling face.
Thanks,
excited to see you all over ESPN this Major League Baseball season. Thank you, Marley. Appreciate it. Bear, let's take a look at this. This is the MLB awards that are up right now for some futures bets that you could jump on. AL, Garrett Cole, in the National League, Cy Young. Jacob deGrom will be interesting, right? That 1-2 punch with him and Max Scherzer for the Mets. MVP, both NL, AL as well. In the World Series, the Dodgers favored to win the World Series at 6-1. Anything on this page stick out to you that you jump on right now, Bear?
Well, it's hard. I've actually been holding off on doing a lot of my baseball handicapping because I just wasn't sure how many games we were going to be playing. That clearly affects how you're going to look at win totals, teams to win divisions. Like if it was a shorter regular season like we've had in the past, when the Florida Marlins to win the division a couple of years ago and win the National League was a great price because of the way of the new format. But I think if you're looking maybe at Cy Young, maybe a guy to maybe win in the AL will be Shane Bieber for the Indians or the Guardians. Now I apologize. I'm like get off my lawn, old school baseball guy. I'm gonna screw that up all year long. So I'm gonna look for the Guardians ace Shane Bieber after an injury-plagued season a year ago. He was so great 2 years ago. I think the fact that he sat out basically the entire year to get healthy, I think Bieber could be a nice bounce-back candidate to win the Cy Young because I'm not sold that Garrett Cole should be as significant of a favorite as he is in the AL.
All right, let's turn our attention to the association and a very small slate last night. There's a very large slate tonight, so a lot to dive into. I'm going to tee up some of the bets that I like heading into tonight's slate. You tell me what you think about them, all right? So let's start first and foremost. You've got the Cavs going up against the Heat. The Heat are favored by 7.5. I'm going to lay the points with the Heat. I also like Darius Garland over 31.5 points and assists tonight. I also like Mobley getting the double-double, and you can get that at even money. So the Cavs, 3-6 their last 9 games. They lost Jarrett Allen, which I think is a really, really significant loss, especially again in the paint. That's why I like Mobley with the double-double because he's going to have to step up. This is the third meeting between the Heat and the Cavs, and the Heat have lost both. So I think there's going to be a little added juice, a little added motivation to make sure that they don't get swept by Cleveland this season because this will be their last regular season game. Garland, again, over 22 points he's put up in 3 of his last 5, also 41 points in his last game, and he's averaging 13 assists a game. And like I said, Mobley, he's got a double-double in his last 5 games that no Jarrett Allen has been active, as I like to call it, active and attractive. So those are my 3 bets heading into this matchup. Anything here you like?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good spot for the Heat. I get a little worried about these teams that kind of come out of nowhere and really overachieve, like the Cavs have. So even though they've won both of the regular season meetings so far with the Heat, I like the Heat tonight. They're coming off kind of a brutal stretch in the schedule as well. So I think coming off of a couple of the losses like they have, getting the Cavs at home, laying 7.5, which I think probably will attract a lot more underdog players than it will favorite players. I'm with you. I'd lay the Heat. I'd lay the points with the Heat.
All right, you've got the Raptors going up against the Suns. The Raptors are getting 5. That's my play. I'm wearing my Siakam shirt tonight. As you can tell, I'm all over the Raptors. But prop bets that I like in this game. Scotty Barnes over 15.5 points and Cam Payne getting a double-double, and you get that at plus 235. Follow me here. The Suns, they've been winning, but they haven't been covering. They didn't even cover against Orlando or the Knicks their last 2 games. And of course, a big reason, Chris Paul's not there, so it's totally messed up their vibe. Van Fleet is back. Therefore, the Raptors are playing a lot better defense, and also they play very slow tempo type of game, especially half court. I think it kind of like gets the Suns out of their element. Scotty Barnes, I love watching him play. He's become one of my favorite players in the NBA, and he's gone over 15 points in 4 of his last 5 games. And Cam Payne, again, with no Chris Paul on the court, 3 double-doubles his last 5 games with the points and assists combined. That's what I'm looking at. Your thoughts in this matchup there?
Yeah, I could get behind the Raptors with you as well, plus the points. And the Suns really don't need this game, and I think they're kind of rested up and looking forward to the postseason. So I can get behind you with Toronto here.
All right, we got the Wizards going up against the Lakers. I'm taking another dog. Give me the Wizards plus the 4 points. Also, give me Kuzma over 1. All he needs to do is just have 1 block in the game. 1 block. Minus 120. Not too much juice to lie. Now, the Lakers, let's be honest, Bear, they're just god awful. I mean, they've lost 2 straight, and they've lost to Houston and the Spurs. The Wizards, meanwhile, they're playing a lot better. They're one of the healthiest teams in the NBA right now. And even though they're about a 500 team, but they're keeping games close and they're covering. That's important, especially when they're a dog. KP is healthy. He's averaging 22 points. He shot 58% his last game, which is really impressive. And I buried the lead here. It's not just Kuzma. I mean, you've got a lot of players on this Wizards team that are going to be suiting up and going against their old team, the Lakers, in LA. It's the first time Kuzma goes back to LA. I think he's going to ball out. I would like to take his over points, but they're at 17.5. I think the better bet is the fact that he's going to get at least 1 block in the game. Again, he's averaging 2 a game. Your thoughts on this matchup?
I don't know how anybody can lay points with the Lakers, even though the game is back home. This is a team, I think it's in total free fall. About 10 days ago, on the adjusted season win totals at DraftKings, I took under 36.5 regular season wins for the Lakers, because at the time it meant they were going to have to go like 10-12 to beat me. And I think at last check, the total had dropped down to 33.5 to 34.5. So it looks like I got the best of the number. There's no way I can play the Lakers in this game at all.
All right, so we're in agreement, 3 for 3. Now, let's end the show with what is the sucker bet of the week? What are you looking at this week that you're all over the board? Could be a futures bet, whatever the case may be, and you're like, oh, this is such a sucker's bet. What stood out for you this week, Bear?
I think if you look tonight in the Big Ten tournament, it was funny when openers got posted yesterday. Nobody could believe, why is Wisconsin only a 1.5 favorite over Michigan State, and Davis is going to play, and it seemed like everybody, I couldn't believe it. So when everybody's in an agreement on that, and the public bets it up, and everybody bets it up to 3.5 now, the world is on Wisconsin. Oh, Michigan State nearly blew that massive lead against Maryland, turned the ball over left and right. Davis is playing for, how could it only be this short of a line? Be very, very careful. I would not, if you have not made a bet on this game, I would not go chasing a bad number on Wisconsin. I'd sit it out and wait and see, maybe up and live, but be very careful if you're considering betting Wisconsin tonight.
Mine is the knee-jerk reaction I think many had when Aaron Rodgers agreed to the 4-year, $200 million contract, with the Green Bay Packers, and him coming back. And of course, with him coming back, then them tagging Devontae Adams. Who knows if they work out another deal with them? This is an organization that was already over the cap by a lot. When you spend that much amount of money on 2 players, to me, when there are so many other needs, they need more help at the wide receiver spot. Hey, how about some protection on the offensive line? So to me, the sucker bet this week is the Green Bay Packers to win the Super Bowl. Here's another thing, Bear. The NFC, I know you look at the NFC, you look across and you're like, wow, this is a conference that can be had. It could be. The AFC is so good. Don't sleep on the Bills, the Ravens, of course, Kansas City, now with the Chargers. That's my suckers bet. Hey, Bear, it's been great spending the afternoon with you on this Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, my friend.